Good evening, everyone. We are back in Proverbs Chapter 7. And again, I hope that you have gotten the update as to how we could actually read the book of Proverbs. It's not difficult, except that from the perspective that we approach Proverbs, we need to have the correct view, otherwise, we'll be all over the place. Now, as we progress on, the word son is still used. So remember, when Solomon, then he depicts himself as the older gentleman, and he keeps talking to the young chaps, the young men in the society. And he says, keep my words and treasure my commands within you. The word keep is shamar, it's to guard. And so we always see this word actually, keep my word. So God says, keep my commands. And here Solomon says, keep my words. It literally means to guard, to protect it so that it is not abused, it is not misunderstood, it is not miscommunicated. So it says, keep my words. Now, the word words here means sayings. Whatever I'm telling you now, you should also treasure my command. Now, this word treasure is to store up. Basically is to hide. My commands. And the word commands here is like God's commands. Generally, the word commands means an order, right? Something that you order, something that you command to instruct. Now, the more interesting thing here is about within you. Now, the word here, it's not quite within you. It should be with you. Right? Not so much as within, but with you. Basically, don't misplace the words and the commands. But if you recall, I had mentioned that the focus in the Hebrew language is very much the verbs, the actions. To guard, to hide, so that people don't steal it. And so now you will see an A and a B. You must keep it safe. Do not let it be abused. Do not let it be misused. Now again, in verse 2, it says, keep my commandments and live. My law as the apple of your eye. These are all descriptors of how to guard, right? So the second one here is again, guard. Guard my instructions, my orders, right? And live. And basically here, the word and live is an, how should you say, it's an imperative. And live and be alive. Because the moment you keep the command. So the question that I had always asked all of us to think about is this. Are we talking about Solomon's own words and Solomon's own commands? Or are we talking about what he has learned and gleaned from God's word, from his father, David, and from his father's father, and from whatever has been bestowed and committed to him? And those would be the words, and those would be the commands, and it's actually originated from God. And then he says, my law. Now notice this word law is Torah. And every time you see law, it doesn't really mean law, it really means instructions. right? Instructions. Apple of your eye. Now, this is a very English word, right? The apple of your eye. So you have an eye, and you would find that the eye has an iris. All right. It has an iris. And your eye, and then you find that the apple of your eye really means the how should you say, the pupil of your eye, which is that part there, right? The pupil of your eye, and it's really called the little man of your eye. And that's the black part, and that's dark, and that is where at least from our viewpoint, from where light will go in so that your eye can see. All right. And so the apple of your eye is an English word, whereas the actual proper word would be the pupil of your eye, the part that you can literally see the light. And you know what it means to see, right? To see means to experience. And the whole idea here is, if you are to live, you are to see, and that really means the window of your life would be your eye. And we really do have an A and a B here, right? We really do have an A and a B here. It's about keeping the commands of Solomon and thereby of God. And the same time is to treat the Torah as the very pupil of your eye, which means that you are always looking after it. And so this whole passage is an expression of keep. All right. Verse 3, bind them on your fingers, write them on the tablet of your heart. Now understand this, the word bind them on your finger and write them on the tablet of your heart. This is something very similar to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 8. And this is part of the Torah, and it's passed down to David, and then David passes down to Solomon. And Solomon experiences it and learns it, and he now commits them to the young man. So he says, tie them on your finger, write them, inscribe on the tablet of your heart. And very mean heart would be the mind, and that would be where you make your decisions. And so the idea here is, when you are to point and when you are to make up your mind, make up your decisions, make sure that you have the commands and the law. And that would be an A and a B. And this is to make sure that the directions and instructions are always in line with the decisions. See, what is the point of having words and commands and nobody cares about? And what is the point of having the words and the sayings of Solomon and his order or his instructions, his commands, and the instructions of the Torah, and keep it in the very sight of you, in the middle of your eye, basically, to tie them on your finger so you don't forget, to write them on the tablet of your heart so that you don't forget. And so it is always about not forgetting. And how do you don't forget? when you live, when you make choices, when you and you're always in the know of the commands and the law. That's how it is expressed. Verse 4, say to Chokmah, you are my sister, and call understanding your nearest kin, that they may keep you from the immoral woman, from the seductress who flatters with her words. Now understand that all these words in verse 5 really comes from Proverbs chapter 5, verse 3, right? We have seen this before. So it is not new. Chapter 2, verse 16, all right? Chapter 6, verse 24. So all of these are really a repeat of the immoral woman who is a seductress. And who is this? These are the character of one who will lead you away from God. And so the idea is this. See, the life of a Hebrew and Israelite is very simple. I've drawn this before, and I'll keep drawing this so that you know. And that's the direction they should go, right? This is the Torah, the direction. And so it says here, let wisdom be your sister, right? Your sister means it's not your wife, right? It's your sister means someone who is close to you, blood related, that is part of you, called wisdom. And this is the smart woman who leads you, who advises you, who guides you, and that's wisdom, hokmah. And called understanding. The word understanding here is discernment. So understanding and wisdom are in the same class of explanation. Your nearest kin, this would be your kinsman. It's like Boaz, right? It's like Boaz in the book of Ruth. A very near relative. So you find that sister and near relative is really talking about the same thing. So we have an A and a B. And so say to wisdom, call understanding. It's the same thing. So that they may keep. The word keep here is to guard. Is to protect you from the strange woman and the seductress. This is seductress means someone who is an alien, who speaks to you with smooth words. And that's why it's called flattering, right? And so this is the bad woman. This is the good woman. So we have a contrast now, very clearly. Wisdom, who is here. And we also have the one who leads them astray, leads a boy astray. This would be the immoral woman who lures him with smooth words, called a seductress. And so you notice it's always leading somebody away from God. And so these are not real women. These are personification of two contrasting characters. And so the young man called my son is always exhorted, don't look right, look left. Don't be seduced. Don't be tricked by all these characters who will lead you away from God. And that is where we are in chapter 7, verses 1 to 5. Now we look at verse 6. It says, "For at the window of my house I look through my lattice." Now understand this. Both are talking about the same thing here. This would be the window, a hole in the wall. I think that would be easily seen, right? This would be the hole in the wall. And I look through my lattice. Now understand this lattice. This is really well, how should you say this? This is also like a hole in the wall. This is where the breeze will pass. All right. So you have an A and a B. And so when you look out your window, that's the expression here. "And I saw among the simple, I perceived among the youths, a young man devoid of understanding." So I, Solomon, right? My house looking out, probably his palace. And he says he sees in a young man. And the word young man here is someone who is naive, and then he lacks understanding. And the word understanding here is discernment. And he says, I perceive among the this is, I see among the naive, and I perceive, and the word perceive is I discern among the, now the word youths here would be, I guess, sons, the young men, right? And then this one here is, this final word young man is actually na'ar. This would be a young boy, right? A lad, a young boy. And it says that he is devoid. Devoid actually means in need, right? Or lacking. And understanding really means wisdom. They can't understand how life is all about. And so he is called naive, he is young, and he is devoid of wisdom. And he passes along the street near her corner. What corner? Well, this would be the corner of the immoral woman. So it says here, what corner? This would be the immoral woman, the seductress. And so this is really describing young men and who cannot discern what is danger and what is not. And then he took the path to her house in the twilight, in the evening. Now the word twilight here would be dusk, right? It's almost at sunset. The word evening here would be when it's turning dark. In the black. Now understand this, the black here, again, this is the pupil. Although it's not saying here the apple of your eye, it's the pupil. It's black. It's very dark in the eye. the pupil of the night, right? And the dark night here really means the darkness. I think that would be a better way of looking at this. And very much so, this is really talking about at night, right? When there is very little light, where you can't see clearly. He went. So instead of this as a Torah, he went to the immoral woman's house. So that's basically the picture that's painted here. Verse 10. And there a woman met him in the attire of a harlot and a crafty heart. Now, it is still talking about this immoral woman. So it's describing this character, right? He encounters her. She has a garment of a harlot. And in those days, harlots have, I guess, very peculiar, very unique dressing. A crafty heart really means one who is who conceals the obvious, who pretends to be somebody else. And so this is the immoral woman, and personifying all the bad that the young man doesn't understand. And so she was loud and rebellious. Her feet would not stay at home. And she wants to go out against all instructions. At times when she was outside, at times in the open square, lurking at every corner. So she is the one that is trying to entice, entrap. And so she caught him and kissed him. And with an impudent face, she said to him. Now, these are all the behavior of the woman, right? The harlot, the one with a crafty heart. And this is personifying the immoral woman. And these are all the bad activities, the bad actions, the bad character that the young man is not supposed to do. And she caught him. In this case, in verse 13, the word caught is that she held him strongly. And then the word kiss is, I guess you can use the word kiss or touched. Basically, to be intimate. And this is really leading the young man down a slippery slope. And with an impudent face, the word impudent face, it's a strong face. And she said to him, I have peace offerings with me. Now understand that this is now describing an offering to God, right? I have peace offering. Verse 14 is about an offering that is given to God, and it's about completion of debt. And so we call it a shalom offering. With me, today I have paid my vows. So the vows are completed. And so when you complete a vow, you bring a peace offering to God. So I came out and I meet you. I diligently seek your face and I have found you. And these are words of the immoral woman. And it is laced with good words. Who doesn't pay attention to peace offering? Verse 16 says, I have spread my bed with tapestry, with fine linen, colored coverings of Egyptian linen. This is talking about the bed. This is the enticement. And so it's using the persona of a harlot. I have made my bed very attractive with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. This is to attract. So come, let us take our fill of love until morning. Let us delight ourselves with love. And so understand this. This is what the harlot has done, to entice and to lead into trouble, which the young man really can't tell. And then she says, for the man of the house is not at home. And so this word here is the man, right? And if you recall, I had mentioned in the past, the culture doesn't use the word husband and wife. And that's a very modern day thinking, right? In those days, you find that the husband will call the wife my woman, and the woman will call her husband my man. And so this is the man. The man is not in the house, not in the house. So not at home, basically. He has gone. Now he has walked. You remember in those days, nobody has a car, so they have to walk. So they have walked on a long journey. And so the word long journey is about a remote place. Really have gone far away, right? Far away. And he has gone far away, and she describes that he has taken a bag of money with him and will come home on the appointed day. The appointed day is an expression called full moon. The idea here is that in the Hebrew expression, the full moon means an appointed day. That is the time that you know that it's an indicator of time of month. And there is only one full moon in a month. And so when he says that you'll be back on the full moon, then he'll be back on a very specific day. And so this is to say, right, all here is to tell the young man the coast is clear, right? In verse 21, with her enticing speech. The word enticing speech, how should you say it? It's really a multitude of words, I guess you can say, right? With many words, right? With many words, and this really is talking about reaching out to him, inclining him, right? Maybe you can use that, inclining him. And so made him incline to her. And so the idea here is there's a lot of words used, and probably he was not an immediate willing party, right? And with flattering lips, she seduced him. And the word flattering would be smooth, lips, the way she speaks, she seduced him. And the word seduced him, I guess you could say, thrust him into her grip. And so immediately he went after her as an ox goes to the slaughter. So notice, this is a metaphor, right? He went after her. The attitude is like an ox that's going for the kill. The ox is going to die as much as this young man is going to die, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks. Now, this is a bit off in the translation. So it says this, or as a bangle, I guess here, the word stocks here is bangle, and it makes a sound. The word chastening here is to discipline. And the word fool here is someone who is silly, right? Silly and perverse, which means that this is a person who doesn't take advice or correction. So one person who doesn't take advice and correction, and when you advise a person, he will still go head on and jump into the deep end of the pool, so to speak, right into the danger, till an arrow struck his liver as a bird hastens to the snare. He did not know that it would cost his life. Now, this point here as an expression of the consequence. So it's using very poetic word, right? So it says here, verse 23, as an arrow struck. And the word struck is to pierce, right? To pierce. And this one says his liver. You notice it's never saying the heart, right? This is a liver. And this is the heaviest organ here. And this, I guess this is the very heart of respect. The very heart of, what else you say? Of his importance, of his wealth. And so he has now lost everything. As a bird hastens to the snare, surely be caught. For he did not know it would cost his nephesh. Now, this word would cost is supplied by the translator, but it's implied, right? For he did not know his life is at stake. And so all of these are warnings to the young man. Verse 24. Now, after giving this poetic speech by Solomon, he says, now. Now means at this time, right? Come, listen to me, my children, or my sons, right? Listen means to hear. Now, the Hebrew language is very much a hearing language, and basically, good advice is to be heard, good discipline is to be heard, and much of what is taught is also heard. And so the word hear is very, very important and used many thousands of times in the Hebrew language in the Bible. And so it is an emphasis to tell the young men, the children, the sons, listen, pay attention to the words of my mouth. And the words here would be the sayings. So when you listen, it is coming out from the mouth. So the idea here is listen to me is to pay attention to what comes out of the mouth. And you get an A and a B. Pay attention. Right? Pay attention and do what? And don't do what? So it says here, do not let your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths. And this is a reminder to the young men, not that they have done it, and that's the way Proverbs are told, right? You tell a moral story, and in the form of a seductress and an immoral woman. So Solomon says, don't let your heart, remember, heart is mind, where you make your decisions. Don't let it turn aside to her ways. Her ways would be the immoral woman and everything she represents, her paths, right? Again, the diagram is very simple. Don't turn away. That's what it means by turning away. Don't do this. The next is do not stray into her paths. What do you mean to stray? The word stray here is to go astray. And it is about wander away. Which is also this. You see? Is to go away to the immoral woman's paths. And the word paths here really means the pathway that she walks, right? Pathway she walks. And that pathway would be the pathway that goes away from God. And so understand this. Wisdom keeps him in the path. The immoral woman will entice him to stray away. Verse 26. For she has cast down many wounded, and all who were slain by her were strong. This is a consequence that Solomon is now putting forth. She, remember the immoral woman, she has cast down many wounded. The word cast down is to cause to fall. And the word cause to fall, how? By fatally wounding them, right? Piercing them. And all who were slain. And the word slain here gives us the connotation killed by her. They were all mighty men, right? These were all, well, you would say, strong, powerful, mighty, right? These are the great ones. And so the description here, I guess you could say, is that we have an A and a B, that the strong, the mighty, will also fall. and die. And what more to a naive young man who has no discernment? That's what Solomon is trying to say. And her house is the way to Sheol. That would be the afterworld, right? The world that comes after this life. And so it says that her house is the path to Sheol. And Sheol is below, so it's descending to the chambers of death. Descending is a picture of Sheol. It is below, so it goes down to the chambers of death. What is chamber? Chamber is parlor, room. That's where the inner rooms are. And this would be where the harlot is enticing. That when you go in there, there is only one consequence. And the consequence is death. End of living. And so you find that this is also an A and a B. So understand the word, the mighty will fall, and if you go into her house, you would end up dying instead of living. And so after all this said and done, look at the meanings in verse 1 and 2. Keep treasure, words, commands. Keep commands and live. My law as the apple of your eye. And so the whole idea here is about living, alive, to experience life. And the rest of this chapter from verse 6 onwards is about all the dangers. Don't get tricked. Don't walk away from the path. And so bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Don't make decisions without the Torah of God. Say to wisdom, you are my sister. Call understanding your nearest kin, your next of kin. And so wisdom and understanding is your relative. Right? In our modern day, we would say, keep wisdom and understanding as your best friend, your BFF, right? So the idea here is, if you have the wisdom and understanding, the discernment that's all based on the word of God and the Torah of God and the commands of God, and is being passed down generation after generation to David and then to Solomon, and Solomon is now passing down to the young men. You see, everything finds its source in the law and commands of God. It is not Solomon inventing any of these things. And so it always points backwards and uses a very poetic way. So the danger of the immoral woman, the seductress, the foreign woman, the alien, don't go there. However much they're trying to tempt you, don't go there. And so walk with the directions of God and don't stray away. And then that's chapter 7 for you here. And very much the book of Proverbs as well. And with this, we come to the end of chapter 7.